Welcome, y'all. This is a new podcast. It's going to be called Athlete Testimonials. I'm Micah Campbell.
I'm Antonio Laidler.
Yeah, and we're both student athletes at Indiana University. I run the 400 hurdles.
I'm a sprinter. I do the 1 and the 2.
Yeah, and so, this show is just something we wanted to come together, and I feel like God placed it on our hearts, and it's just something we want to introduce to the world. The concept of the show is just going to be us giving athletes the platform to share their testimony and share their story and how God has allowed them to get to where they are today, whether it be sports or even outside of sports, but just putting an emphasis on, their faith and just letting them proclaim that. And, that's something we want to do today, and that's something we're going to do today. We're going to give Tone the opportunity to just share his story, allow you all to meet him, and yeah, we're excited for that. You got anything?
I just want to say, man, I just feel anointed. I feel like, this is my calling to do something for the image of, God. I think that, we always get a chance to make an impact in the world. And I think what we doing right now is, fantastic. I think that it's going to definitely bring light into like people who's facing adversity, who feel like they can't make it. And I think this is a great opportunity to actually, speak about this and put that out there. So
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. Just, when I came to you about it, just being able to have some proof on the table, like evidence, like God, like I'll serve you. I want to do stuff for you. I want to spread your word, spread your gospel, spread your love. And, that was a really big thing for me in terms of just putting actions to my faith. You know what I mean? I feel like that's something I struggle with where I was just like, oh, I'm good. I believe in God. That's it. Like, no, like you have to put actions to your faith. Like, this is my way of just showing God, like, hey, I serve you. I'm obedient to you, and I want to spread your love. And I feel like I asked you to join me because you're the perfect person for that. This is my spiritual brother, and we can kind of transition into your story. But for those you don't know, this is Antonio Laidler, um, Big Ten runner-up in the 60 meter. I believe his PR is 6.67. That's
667.
fast. If you don't know, that's real fast.
Yeah.
20.89 in the
20.9 and 200.
20.9 in the 200. He splits 47-0 in the 400. But beyond that, he's just a great person, and this is my spiritual brother. We talk about our faith. We joke around all the time. I'm really glad to have met him, and he has a wonderful story. And yeah, you can get into it, man.
Yeah, but first, before I get into it, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you more than everything. The day I met you, I just knew that it was something in you. You know what I'm saying? I saw the light for what you was doing to help others to get to that point. And it was just amazing, bro, just to be able to see that because, like, where I come from, I never had nobody else to actually help me navigate through that little threshold because I thought that I was always feeling alone. You know what I mean? And you was a person to step in, and we have these daily talks about God, and that's something I'm definitely passionate about. So I really appreciate you for that. But before we get into it, I just want to say one thing is, I learned from your pastor too. He talks about the power of self-realization.
Yeah, Bishop Walker.
Bishop Walker, and it impacted me so much because what he mentioned was the moment when you discover who you are is the moment you can get through any given situation. And growing up at a younger age, I lost my mom when I was 9 years old. It was a dark tunnel. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't even get through, certain things because I always felt alone. I couldn't go to nobody and express that about to anybody because I felt that I was in a space where I couldn't reach anybody. You know what I mean? And I think throughout my life, my mom was everything to me, man. Like it took so much for me to actually go to somebody and just, help me get through.
And where are you from?
I'm from Belgrade, Florida as well. It's a small town, less resources. I never had nobody to actually help me, navigate through, those tough times when I experienced losing my mom. Um, but how God played a role in my life, bro, it was something that I never thought was gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm talking about when I first got into church, that feeling of knowing that everything gonna be okay. But at the time, at when I was experiencing that, I didn't know at the time because like it was just so hard for me to, relate to the spiritual people of like, oh, God is this, God is so amazing. I didn't have that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So once I, was seeking God's presence, all that developed within me. You know what I mean? I didn't see it at the time, but once I started my journey, the journey that he led me on, it was something amazing, man. I remember like throughout high school, I didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do in high school, bro. I'm talking about I didn't even apply to go to college because I thought that, my life was over with. Ever since I loved my mom, bro, it was just hard for me to navigate. And I was so embedded of doing great things, but I didn't know how to do it because I was so focused on, losing my mom, like why my mom was taken from me at the same time. And, once I got into high school, I was introduced to sports. Sports was something that allowed me to have freedom. I was able to cope with, the passing of my mom at the time. And, it allowed me to manage, certain things around me. Like football, bro, like I can say, bro, like the gift and talent that God had gave me, bro, it was something amazing because at the time I didn't notice it, but once I really got into, going to church with my grandfather, that's when I really started to pick up of who God was at the time. And he worked in mysterious ways, bro. Like at the time, I didn't understand his provision at the time. We always got access to it, but at the same time I didn't understand it. So, experiencing that, going to church, that was something, impactful for me because I saw how it changed my life. Like I saw step by step. I remember the first time when I had that feeling. Like I remember at the time, like my thoughts, like I was thinking so much as a younger kid, and I felt like I couldn't even express my thoughts at the time because like I feel like it was a lock on my thoughts where I couldn't even, express how God was just doing things in my life. He just told me to be patient. He didn't want me to, you know, actually to express those thoughts. I had to be patient with myself, bro. And when when the time came, it came, bro. Like, I remember I told myself like, man, long if I just can stay in God's presence, everything gonna get fulfilled.
And
You know
this
what I
was in
mean?
high school.
And this was in high school, bro. I was telling myself, I had those thoughts to myself, just telling myself that because I knew that something was out there. You know what I'm saying? Like at the same, I didn't fully believe in God, but at the same time, once I constantly was going to church, the only thing I could think about is God and what He was doing in my life at the time. And that's when I got introduced to track and field. Track and field was never the thing for me in high school, bro. Like I started running my 11th grade year of high school,
You
bro.
want to tell them why you started?
I mean, yes, like, cause I want to be transparent as possible, bro. Like, the reason I started running because I started running for the girls. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That was just me. I was a youngin. I was popular in high school too, and that's something that I was kind of gravitate. My mind was just gravitating towards those type of things. But once I got older, I realized like, what women do now in today's sports, like it's beyond like inspiring because you got to think about what they go through on a day-to-day basis. Going through thick and thin. You know what I'm saying? They showing up, doing what they got to do, and it's just so much that you can speak on women. You know what I mean? But back to my story of at the time, yeah, that's why I started running. But mind you, bro, like track and field was never like the way of you know fulfilling what I thought that I wanted to fulfill. For me, I thought I was going to the league, man. I was so good in football. Like I was so talented at the point that I thought that that nobody can really stop what I had in my mind, because I knew from the start, like, man, I'm finna make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna make something happen. I'm gonna make some shape. And I think that once I, just like I said, once I was going to college, and well, not college, I'm sorry about that. But when I was going to church, I was understanding what God really wanted for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was getting, my mind was just shifting. I was thinking about, okay, God want this for me. You know what I'm saying? So he showed me track and field, and everything like changes. I'm having thoughts where I didn't even I didn't knew that this was for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had those thoughts, I was telling myself, like, I remember this particular day too, when I was home, and I was just thinking about, like, man, like, it's just a sign for me to actually, do this and go down that journey and go down that path. So when I went down that path, it was always wasn't the great path for me. I was experiencing adversity at the time, and I was at my lowest, man. Like, it almost broke me. Like, I was like, and it's crazy because I went to Quincy University for 2 years. It's Illinois, 4 hours away from Chicago, and I was there for 2 years. And I'm talking about, man, I was experiencing things that I thought I was just not going to make it through. Like, I thought it was over for me. Like, I didn't understand at all, like, why God chose this path for me at the time. And once I really just really adjust and just really, I was able to be still. You know what I'm saying? That's when God work his best. When you just still and he take fully control. And at the time, bro, like, I was just like, okay, I'm just do what this do. I'm do what I gotta do, and I'm just let God do his work. And once I was, making things happen at Quincy University, it was hard for me to actually uh call my parents at time, because, like, I remember, bro, I was so, like, in this box where I thought I was just completely over with. I thought I was gonna go back home, go run the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have that feeling of actually staying no more, because, like, I was experiencing so much that it broke me down. You know what I'm saying? I remember calling my homeboy. I was like, man, like, I don't know if I can do this, man, because, like, I'm in Illinois. It's cold as hell. Like, I'm from Florida too, so I'm just like, man, I don't know if I can make it through this, man. And I remember my homeboy. Shout out to Victor Smith. No, Victor. Yeah, shout out to him. He was telling me, man, just keep going. God got something special for you. He got something planned for you. And at the time, bro, like, I was just reading scriptures daily, daily, and it was just filling my soul. It was just giving me that scrim. And when I was able to experience that, bro, like, one scripture that stood with me was Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plan for you, declare the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And man, I'm talking about, I took that among myself and just pushed forward, bro. Like, he gave me so much wisdom and strength to just keep going. And at the time, bro, like, I understood that I was experiencing those circumstances, but I know God was at his best when I was experiencing that. And at the time, bro, like, I was like, man, like, the things that he showed me, like, it was just so fulfilling that all I can just do is glorify God, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, he put me in that position knowing that I thought I was going to, quit, thought I was going to go back home, thought I was just over with. And he just made a way for me, bro. And, like, after doing those 2 years at Quincy University, I remember, I was in the transfer portal. I was able to get in contact with, like, different coaches and
And
stuff.
so you ran? Did you run well?
So I ran pretty well. I ran pretty well. I had decent time to actually get into D1
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and you know, I was just like I was saying, I was emailing coaches and stuff, and I was also trying to get into school because I know that was like around COVID year,
Mm-hmm.
and I just knew that a lot of people were coming back because everybody was gonna be eligible again because they go get another year, and yeah, bro, it was for that point, you know, I was still building my faith, but around that time I was still like, man, I don't know what gonna happen because I was in a transfer portal and it was actually hard to get in contact with like different coaches and stuff. And I remember this day when I hit up Coach Ed Bethel. I coach now, currently
Yeah.
I head coach now, and I told him when we first talked on the phone, I told Coach Bethel like, man, like I want to come in and make history. Like I don't want to come in and not just do it, not doing everything that I possibly can. I told myself like, man, I'm gonna do everything that I possibly can. I'm gonna come here. I want to be able to make a huge impact on the team. And when I got in contact with him, bro, like it was all like a connection where he allowed me to you know he gave me an opportunity and I took advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
I came in my first year. um it was quite decent. I was getting used to the program and stuff like that, and I was still had those thoughts like, man, like this journey is kind of crazy because I'm still in the cold. Like I want to be back in Florida,
Yeah.
but at the same time, just hearing God's voice, he was just telling me like, just keep going. Just follow what I have for you. And, I was just doing that. So I was in Indiana. Then my second year came around the corner. That's when I made history, man.
Mm-hmm.
Got the school record in 100-meter dash. I'm at a 10:19, and it's kind of crazy because like, man, how God just worked in your life. Like I was not leaning on my own understanding, bro. Like I
Yeah.
really gave God, me, and be I try to be appreciative for that because I know, what he did throughout my life. And, I try to inform others like, man, like God is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just really have to be patient and just seek his presence because like the amount of access that we get to his provision, his power, his glory is like beyond insane, bro. Like and and to order to like fulfill, and want God to kind of hear you, you really have to be in communication with God. So that's what I do daily in my routine. Like I make sure, I'm praying. I make sure I'm doing all the necessary things to fill my spirit because I know that like, man, God is everything. He is my fortress. He is my provider, and I think that when I tend to tell other people that, I let them know like, man, you just have to be patient with yourself and really like seek God in that way. But back to like when I was, I'm currently still in Indiana, and it just been still, the same old. This new season, I just feel blessed. I feel like I'm called to actually put light into people, and I think that I'm currently doing that now, and it is really fulfilling to actually see how God's working in our life. You know what I'm saying? And track it's been a journey, but how I see it is, I'm so focused on what God called me to do now, at this point in my life. And, I just know that, whatever he desired me to like what he put on my heart, I just know that it's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And I tend to not focus on what other people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
Other people saying, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Oh man, I gotta do what God said me to do. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I tend to focus on, bro. And that's how I live my life according to His will. And it's been fulfilling ever since, man. I'm so grateful that I can, call on God each and every day. It just been, a blessing. Really been a blessing. Losing my mom, you know, I just felt like I lost something valuable in my life. And that kind of showed me that I can make it through anything, bro. Like, because it's like I was at my lowest, and I really couldn't call on anybody to express those thoughts to, because like, man, like losing your mom is just like, it's really unexplainable, man. It's just like this feeling of pain inside, just burning, because like the mom is everything, you know what I mean? And I just felt like, losing my mom, bro, it just created something like within me that I'm gonna get through anything, because like it just showed me that I had so much potential in me at the time. It created something like, I was a man. I'm talking about how I approach things. I try to do it with the intention of, completing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew like that created something in me. Like I had that fire, the ambition of, doing everything that I can possibly do, because I know that they're gonna create more, opportunities for me. And, just losing my mom, man, like unfortunately, you know, it wasn't the best, but it definitely turned me into something that I'm proud, that who I'm proud is now. So
And
um,
so from that, who would you say the family members you know, because they're obviously gonna watch this, who would you feel like your family members that you were able to lean on after that, and maybe before that, and who's still in your corner that you just that are the reason you are here today. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I would just say all my family, honestly. Um, especially on my mom's side, growing up, my auntie was something, you know, she was just different. You know, like I know it was so much things that she done in my life, also was in my sister's life, also in my other cousin's life. Like she made a difference. She showed us the real definition of, you know, she showed us real definition of strength. Like she allowed us to grow into something that I never thought I was gonna be. And living with my auntie, it was something that I never thought, on how my life is gonna turn out now, how it is now. And she molded something in me where it was just beyond, you know, beyond sensational. I think that, you know, when I look back, I try to do so forgivingly. You know what I'm saying? All the pain that I have caused at a young age, because going through that losing of my mom, I knew that I did some terrible things. But, how I look at it now, I would say that I'm so thankful of my auntie. And also, my cousin on my dad's side, she took me in now. And, you know, she really impacted me in a way that I'm so proud of. She gave me, a vision. She gave me the opportunity to, seek things that I'm interested in, and she just paved the way for me. Like everything was, I wouldn't say everything was easy, but it was more manageable being under her. And I'm just so grateful of her. And I think that she definitely, put me in a position where I can grow and be who I am. You know what I mean? And I'm just so grateful for her though.
Mm-hmm. And so can you touch on a little bit of your experience in Quincy and talk about how bad it actually was, and then get into how what the transfer portal was like, what that feeling was like, and then finally getting a chance and how and just how you feel God played a role in all of that.
Yeah. So when I was at Quincy University, you know, when I say I was at my lowest, and it's also because of the weather too. It was cold, and I'm from Florida, so I never experienced cold before, like cold weather before. And the things that I was experiencing at Quincy was some things that I never thought I was gonna get over, like being able to, wake up doing the same thing over, and it wasn't something that I felt like I couldn't do, but it was just like we was doing things that normal athletes don't do.
Mm-hmm.
The workout basis. It was just so it was just so different where my body couldn't handle it. You know what I'm saying? And just also just being homesick too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so far from home. I'm like 16, 18 hours away from home. And that played a role too because all I was thinking about is being back home, doing something differently, not focusing on what God set me to do. You know what I'm saying? I think I was kind of drifting from God, which kind of led me to feel like I'm stuck in these circumstances where I can never get out of. And I think that how I see it, I feel like I was definitely drifting away from God at the time. But how God really played a role in my life, man. Like He told me to just be still. I was able to be still and understand that I have to go through this, to get the end result that He want me to receive. And I think that once I was able to, understand that, once I was able to seek His presence, everything just played its part. You know, God is the anchor of my life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, and I often try to tell people like, in order to, in order for God to actually anchor your life, you have to be in communication with Him on a daily basis, and that's where I knew that He was doing something great within me, and it was just so fulfilling. Like it allowed me to refocus, block out all the outside noises and stuff. And it just led me on the path that He wanted me to be on. And how the transfer portal was, man, it was so difficult because, I had to reach out to coaches myself.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
had
about
to,
how many coaches would you say you reached out to?
man, I probably reached out to every D1 college in the world, man, because I knew my potential. Like I knew that I had it within me to, do great things. But I just needed a place to, fulfill my desire of, track and field. And it was hectic. It was hectic. I know at times that I thought that this is it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna have, a college to actually look at me because I was also injured coming out of the being in the transfer portal. I was injured and stuff, so I felt like they wasn't gonna take a chance with me.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I say, once I met Coach Adele, man, everything was just easier for me. Like he understood, the athlete what I who I was, and also, he accepted my injuries as well. And just having those talk with him, like it was just so it just he just made it so easier to actually come to Indiana and make an impact, and I'm just so grateful for him.
Mm-hmm. And so when you think about that impact and everything you've been able to do, but then you think about the beginning, like how how do you feel when you're like, dang, if you could go back to like 10-year-old you or something and be like, this is where I am, how does that make you feel like just to be here today?
Man, it made me feel so proud because like the 10-year old, like I didn't have a thought process like this at all until God came to my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember when I was so young that I always used to challenge myself, but now not like how I'm challenging myself now. Like, man, what I can really say is, just looking back at my 10-year old, I'm just glad that he just kept going and just understood that it was something out there helping you to get to the next step each day. And, I'm just so, I can honestly say I'm just proud, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just beyond crazy, man, like how God just works.
Yeah.
It's beyond crazy.
And so what's next for you in terms of the season and graduation in May? What's your plans after this?
So right now, it's just really trusting God what He have planned for me. I definitely interested of coaching. I think I'll definitely be rewarding to work with kids and work with the youth and allow them to grow into someone that I was not as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want to be able to shine my light on those kids, the next generation, and to fill them up. And another thing, I also want to run pro for a little while. So whatever that Lord have for me, man, I'm just willing to do His will. You know what I mean? So I'm just really just being patient with myself. I'm just trying to focus on the present because I can't control the future. So it's just like I'm just really embedded with focusing on God present. That's all.
Nice. Well, that's pretty good. I appreciate you telling your story. You know, for y'all listening, just Tone is a really great person. I'm so glad he's willing to do this. And, I hope y'all can learn something from your story and just knowing that, it don't matter where you come from. It don't matter where you start. Like, we really not supposed to be here today. From his story, it sounds like he not supposed to be here, where you came from, your roots. Um, but God made a way for you. And, that's really inspiring to me because, when you talk about God's presence, I see you living in that every day. Like I see your motivation and I see everything God has planned for you. And, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you and I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
Yep.
Thank you.
That should be a wrap. We'll shoot the next one. I'll be telling my story. Then after that, man, we got some good ideas, some good athletes for y'all.
Good
I'm telling
athlete,
y'all.
man.
And the biggest thing about this is we want you athletes to serve God and tell your story, and step out, take a leap of faith, and just allow people to learn from you, to hear from you, and be able to, you could say you help somebody believe in God, and I feel like that's really an important thing for us as Christian. And that's another emphasis. I'm Christian, he's Christian, but you know, God is God, and religion isn't the focus of this show. It's more so just to express our faith. So if you're Muslim, Jewish, anything, I want you to come tell your story. We both want you to come tell your story, and we can all just have that fellowship together. And I'm excited for what's to come. We're blessed, and I'm excited.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys, and I just hope that you stay tuned because we got something coming. It's just been a blessing just to sit here with you and just talking about how God played a role in my life, and I think that it'll give you guys opportunity to understand that like God is there, like He's sitting right beside you. You know what I'm saying? So definitely seek His presence, and you definitely gonna get what you deserve. So just keep trusting.
Yep. All right.